Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Where the 99 Leads. It's a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville. And the 99 refers to the historic 99 steps that lead to the University of Pikeville campus, but more importantly, lead from campus back into the community, into the county, into the city, and into the region and the world. Preparing your world for the arrival of UPike graduates and UPike students as they join the community. Joined today by head coach of the UPike women's basketball program, Joanna McNamee joins us now. And Coach, welcome to another edition of Where the 99 Leads.
Thanks for having me.
New school year, new basketball year as well. We're going to talk about those things, but first, for those that are tuned in and don't know Joanna McNamee, let's have a little background. Let's go back to your days of playing basketball and how you got your coaching start and how you ended up here in Pikeville.
My days of playing, even though I swear it feels like yesterday, it
Yes.
was like 2 decades ago. I got to play at West Liberty University, which is a Division II school, and that's kind of why I wanted this job so much. Is it's very similar to what UPike is what West Liberty was.
Sure.
A small school and a great community, and I had probably the best 4 years of my life pre being married and having kids. So it was really great going to school there, and I had a good career playing basketball there as a point guard. And from there, I just started coaching. I had thought when I graduated there I wanted to be a pharmacist, but I loved basketball so much, and I think that's what all of us coaches, that's why we get into it, because we can't get away from our sport. So
Sure.
I got into coaching basketball and was fortunate enough to get right into the Division I level, and I coached at EKU for a few years. I coached at West Virginia University. And then I eventually got to the University of Maryland, where back in 2006 we won a national championship. And that was, at that point, probably one of the greatest experiences coaching basketball that I had had. And at that moment we were winning the national championship, I was also 3 months pregnant with my oldest son.
Right.
So I had my boys back to back, and I took some time off from coaching. And then when I was ready to get back into it, this job made sense because this is where my husband grew up and where all of our family is
Right.
from.
And of course, the McNamee name, a name that's known throughout the region. And an interesting story about how you met your husband. I think we must share that at every opportunity.
He loves this story. He was an assistant baseball coach at West Virginia University, and I was an assistant basketball coach. And in our athletic complex, we shared a copier. So every time the good-looking baseball assistant was out there making copies, I would scrounge around and yell at our office administrator to give me something to copy so I could sprint out and stalk him at the copier.
Right.
And eventually he noticed.
Right. Eventually, he caught on. Not the quickest guy, but he
No,
caught on. He's
right.
like all of us guys.
Right,
We just don't catch
absolutely.
on quickly. Coach Joanna McNamee, we are glad that you're a part of the community. And third year now at the University of Pikeville. Seems like yesterday
It does.
we were talking for the first time, but gearing up for another basketball season, the season early on. Talk about the preseason a little bit. How's that been this year?
This preseason, honestly, and maybe because it is my third year, has been my most enjoyable. The girls came back with a definite sense of purpose, as opposed to in my years past where my first year, no one was in shape in the preseason. Last year, we had maybe 30, 40%. This year, I would say, 85% of my players were in great shape.
Sure.
And when you come back with a group of veterans returning that get it, it makes everything that much easier. And it's almost, in this preseason, I literally haven't really raised my voice hardly at all. And as I'm about to, it seems like I have someone on the floor saying, hey, we better get this done or that done. Like they can already know, like my returners know me so well, they already know what kind of sets me off or what needs to be done. So it's been really fun. I almost feel like I don't get to spend enough time with them. And that's, opposite of probably the way I felt my first year here.
Absolutely. And of course, off season, when your players go home for the summer, they're giving a summer workout program.
They are, and it's really, I think it's a great summer program. We've kind of fine-tuned it since I've been here to be something that I hope they look forward to doing, because it only takes about an hour of their day, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes 2 hours, but it's something that they need to do like 6 days a week, and that's what I expect them to do. Because there's 24 hours in a day, it's not asking that much. And finally, I feel like they had a summer where they actually did it. So they came back. I think that when we step foot on the court, this evening and in the first part of November, I think you're going to see a more cut, defined women's basketball team that looks athletic.
Right. They know what's coming if they're not in shape when they get to
Yes, that's miserable.
Coach Mack's preseason conditioning. Yeah, we probably should do this summer program. That comes with the experience.
Absolutely.
Your players are a little older. They know what you expect after you've been here a couple of years, and they can be better leaders on the court as well. How's this year's team blending?
They're blending good. We have a really nice team, and you never hear a coach really complain about that. I'll probably be the only one that says sometimes I wish I had a couple girls that were a little meaner, because we are really just a good group. They're really good ambassadors, I think, for UPike and for the community, because they represent themselves well and in turn represent our program well. So I'm really proud of the girls I get to coach this year.
National tournament appearance last year. Is that something that, okay, we've been there, done that, or has that left this team hungry for more?
I think it's left them hungry for more. I know it's left me hungry for more.
Sure.
We talk about it every day. If we say it, everybody wants to win. It's the team that works hardest to win. There isn't a team in our conference that doesn't say they want to go to the national tournament. So, we constantly talk about wanting it isn't enough. We have to really work and go through that grind to make sure that we're a team that gets there.
Right. Talk about this year's returning players to the UPike women's program.
The returners, I think we have a nice core. Although primarily they're still young, we have one returning senior, 2 juniors, and our senior is Kayla Day. She ran a little point for us, and this year she's transitioning. She's running more of like a 1-2 guard for us. And then our juniors, we have Candace Porter and Kella Eldridge, who both last year were second team all conference. And they've really put in the time this summer, and they're looking really good in the preseason one in the post. And Kella, of course, the shooting guard. And then we have a whole slew of sophomores. They were freshmen last year. Right. Finally, they're sophomores. Devin Conley has come in really shooting the ball well. Jamie Castle, who was the freshman player of the year in our conference last year. You wouldn't think that she could get that much better over a summer, and she's that much better in my opinion.
Wow.
I feel like she is really grasped the concept of what I want in a point guard. I still wish I could get her to be a little bit meaner, talk a little bit more, but as far as seeing the floor and making good decisions, she's really turned it on.
Right.
And then Danielle Calvert in the post. She is one last year that didn't get to see a lot of playing time because she was in the process, I think, of transforming into a college basketball player. Well, she's made that transformation, so this year she is definitely going to see time. Drea Matchin, who turned it on in our national championship game, had a spectacular game. And I think that fueled her fire over the summer to come back and just really, give us her all. And she's been a joy to be around. And then we have Rachel Lee as a shooter that will come in and have some time, and Dee Foster as a sophomore. And then we have a small group of newcomers that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing about the newcomers to the University of Pikeville women's basketball program. We talk UPike women's basketball in this edition of Where the 99 Leads, joined by UPike women's head coach Joanna McNamee, coming off a tremendously successful season last year that ended at the national tournament. And that's the goal of small college basketball, to end up in the national tournament. This team took that step, I think, quicker than many people expected it to. There were expectations when Joanna McNamee arrived in Pikeville to get there again. I think it got there maybe a year quicker, at least a year quicker than many of us expected to. Did it surprise you at all?
I think it probably goes to what I try to tell our team every day. Whether you think you can or think you can, you're right. So if they think they can't do it, basketball is very much so a mindset at this level.
Sure.
I think our competition across the board, yes, there's some teams that are head and shoulders, superior, but for the most part, we're all playing on a fairly equal playing ground with our talent level and things like that. So then it comes down to which teams have that chip on their shoulder and believe in themselves. And I'm hoping that's what I'm getting out of them this year. And I want to be that team, like Coach Wells has on the men's side, that, they know they're going to get there every year. They believe in themselves. They know it. And that's what I want to get my program to, a program that believes in themselves and kind of that expectation isn't a surprise. It's like you said, an expectation that we're going to get there.
How has your experience as a player, as a coach, on different levels, and as a coach on a D1 program that lands as a national champion. How have those experiences helped you coaching this team, not just X's and O's and what
Right.
happens on the court, but changing the mindset of a team?
I think it probably gives me the confidence to know what I'm saying is true. You know, when we won that national championship at Maryland, we did it with a starting five of 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior. No one expected us to do that, do that well, but we did. You know, we believed it. You know, every day when we'd huddle at the end of practice, we'd say national champs on 3, and that might sound cocky, but it's a mindset you have to have. And last year with that team we talked about it. We wanted to get there. It wasn't, and like I said, wanting it isn't enough, but believing in yourselves, a lot goes for that. And I think all the teams I've been a part of, I know the teams that have believed in themselves are the most successful. So that's what I'm trying to get these girls to do.
Goes with all sports, I believe. There has to be a certain amount of confidence and belief in themselves and their teammates.
Right.
Blending teams, chemistry, bonding, no matter how you describe it. If a team doesn't have that, even the most successful teams a lot of times aren't successful as far as wins go.
Absolutely. It's not always the most talent that wins. It's the ones that have the biggest hearts and play for each other.
We've talked about returning players. Let's talk about the newcomers to the program.
Newcomers. We have a few freshmen. Emily Baker is local, just from Belfry High School, and I think when people see her play this year, when she gets on the floor, they're going to be surprised, even at her body makeup. She's changed, and she's doing a great job for us. Addison Quarter is out of Southwestern High School, Pulaski County, and again, really hard-nosed kid. She has a shot that's a little, what would you say, like maybe not the best mechanics,
Unconventional.
but man, it goes in. So sometimes I think when people see her warm up, they're going to say, really? But then they're going to watch her a little bit closer and they're going to say, wow.
Sure.
And that kid doesn't really miss very often. And she's hard-nosed. We have a point guard out of Columbus, Ohio, in Taylor McGlade. And she is a little firecracker. And really, I feel like she's really helped push Jamie at that position and help Jamie grow, because before that, there wasn't a lot of competition as far as pushing Jamie every day in practice, and now we have somebody that's doing that and will compete for that, for that spot day in and day out. And then we have a girl that will be ineligible first semester, but working hard to get eligible in second semester, and that's Prisha Rogers out of, she actually went to Langston, the team we played in the national tournament last year. But she was friends with a couple of our seniors that were on our team last year, and I think she saw what kind of players we have and what kind of camaraderie we have with each other, and she actually contacted me over the summer to see if we still had spots available. So I'm excited about her. She's a Kentucky kid, and then we also have a transfer from Houston that will be in the post for us.
Very good. It adds depth to this program, and in year 3 of the McNamee era at the University of Pikeville, is depth where you want it to be now?
Depth, absolutely, but I want, like I said, I want that character and the talent level just to keep, stay on the rise if we can. And depth is great.
You're recruiting 365 days a year. It's
are.
a constant battle. It doesn't matter which coach I talk to, regardless of the sport at the University of Pikeville. I hear it from each and every one of you. Recruiting is an everyday process. Talk about the type of player. If someone's tuned in, maybe a middle school player, a high school player, or maybe someone who just follows women's basketball, what type of player does Joanna McNamee look for when on the recruiting trail?
One of the biggest things, and you'll see it in the freshmen we have, I want that no quit mentality when I go watch them play, because I know sometimes things aren't always going to be great, and it's almost better as a coach when you catch them in a game where they're not doing as well, or maybe their teammates, they're in maybe a trying situation where they're down 5 late in the game. I love to see the character of the players that I'm recruiting and see how they handle adversity, and that means a lot, because like you said, and like we said earlier, your team has to bond, they have to get along, you have to have players that get it at this level to be successful. And so I try to evaluate that when I'm out there watching them play. Now, of course, one of my things that I try to have in all my players, they have to be able to shoot. That's probably one of my things and that's why when I go out and we do camps and we do things, shooting fundamentals is something that I really harp on in camps and things, is because if you can't put the ball in the basket, it's really hard to win.
Right. It's one of the most basic fundamentals
Right.
in basketball. You've got to be able to score. And obviously you do. Your team, you like to push it. You like to get up and down the floor. Do you look for players that are able to run the floor?
I do. But like I said, that no quit mentality, for instance, I have a couple players that played for high schools that walked it up and down the floor.
Right.
But you can kind of see it in them. If they have that fire, they'll embrace and almost be that much more excited to play in a running, fast style offense that we have.
There's a lot of recruiting that goes on video. Obviously,
Yes.
you can see players from all over the country on video, from across international players as well, for that matter.
Right.
Can you see that gut check attitude on video? Is that something you have to see a player in person?
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for so many years, so a lot of times on video, I can definitely see laziness on video.
Sure.
But I don't know that you can always see the gut check part of it. But that's where, one of the things we try to do on our limited budget is always watch film first.
Right.
And then when we see, well, she's got the talent and she seems to have that go-getter mentality, then we make sure we go see him in person. I mean, there's not really a kid that we sign that we don't go see in person first.
Right. Very good. Coach Joanna McNamee, our guest on this edition, as we talk UPike women's basketball. And your student athletes, as part of the women's program, participate in many different community events and activities, very involved in community service. Talk about that and why that's important to your program.
Community service, just giving back in general, that's something that if I can get them to understand the importance of it now when they're young, as adults, there's nothing better that we can do than give of our time and be servant leaders. So that's what I try to instill in them. We actually have a function coming up on Monday. We're being the hostesses for the After Breast Cancer Awareness Dinner. Sure. And that's something that we did last year, and they actually called and requested we do it again.
Right.
Because our girls are so much fun. They get all those people up dancing, and even though they're just supposed to be hosts and seating and kind of they serve the food and things like that, but then they're invited to stay for the after party, I guess. And
Sure.
They really got everybody going last year, so they requested that they do that again. But we also do reading with the Bears at the elementary school, and
Right.
that gets us in there with those kids. Like you said, the little eyes are always upon them, as I tell them. So, but giving of yourself, and I think a lot of people think giving of yourself is just money, but it's not at all. It's actually, I think the opposite is giving that time. And that's what I try to get them to understand is, there's a lot of time in the day, and there's a lot of time you can give others that would really appreciate it.
Sure. Not just teaching lessons of basketball, but life lessons as well.
Right.
Creating better community members,
Right.
one basketball player at a time. It's a great responsibility. Other than community service projects, talk about other ways that you use events or activities to bond your team, for team bonding exercises.
Team bonding is probably one of my favorite things, just because for female athletes, I think it's important for all athletes, but for females especially, they can be a little judgmental or a little harsher toward each other, but once they get to know each other's backgrounds, then it makes everybody understand and be more forgiving of each other. So we do early on, I have everybody over to my house, we have a big pool party, and that's more just a fun team bonding.
Sure.
But here soon we'll have another one at my house where everybody comes and I have them turn in their cell phones, and we have some cool activities, and there's no better way to bond than over food. So my mom is finally back in town, and she cooks a big spaghetti dinner for everybody, and we do it over food, and we really get to know each other, kind of have a heartwarming few hours together where everybody lets everybody know where they come from, what they stand for, where they want to be in their life, where they want to go, and it's a blast, and it helps me as a coach get to know each of them and what their toughest times have been and what they feel like their brightest future is going to be.
Sure. There are parents, grandparents tuned in right now that said, I just heard her say they had to turn in their cell phones, and they want to know how you did that. Teenagers and 20-somethings to turn in their cell phone, even if for a couple of hours.
Right.
That's a great accomplishment, and I think that's as much as anything today's society, because they are so connected. And to be able to put that down, and come together as a team. I think that's important in just itself.
Absolutely.
Coach Joanna McNamee, our guest, and Coach, we look at this year's schedule. A couple of games stand out. Tell us about the Puerto Rico sports tournaments.
We are awfully excited about this Puerto Rico trip. Luckily, we've had a lot of people step up in the community and help sponsor us, and we will still welcome more people to step up in the community and sponsor us.
It's an expensive trip.
It's really expensive. It's actually more expensive than I realized because of I almost forgot where we were at location-wise and how hard it is to get flights for a reasonable price out of here. So that was one of the things that we still would welcome more sponsors for that trip. But we're going to Puerto Rico. We're bringing the girls, and it's the way they have it set up. It's going to be a spectacular trip. We're playing Olivet Nazarene in the second game there. The first game there, Puerto Rico, where they're they're American based. They have NAIA teams that are recognized.
Sure.
So a win there is actually recognized for us to count toward a national tournament berth.
Right.
So we'll play an NAIA Puerto Rican team, and in the second game we'll play Olivet Nazarene, which I'm really excited about because last year they averaged, I believe, 117 points a game.
Tremendous tradition-rich program.
Yes, and they run a 5-in, 5-out, crazy fast offense, and I think that catching them, them and me against each other, it could be a track meet. I think it'll be fun. But I also love the idea that our girls will get to spend, a day on the beach for their Thanksgiving break.
Sure.
We just set up a bioluminescent bay tour, which is where you kayak in the evening in the bay, and you see all of the sea life that glows
Right.
under the water. And that's something that, I'm 40 years old, and I've never done anything like that before. And so I feel like I'm giving the girls a chance in a lifetime trip, and they get to do it while they play basketball at U-Pike.
Absolutely. And representing the University of Pikeville in Puerto Rico. We want to wish you the best of luck there. You're coming off a national tournament appearance, and we say it just fuels the hunger for more. How does this team, early on, compare to last year's team? Does it have the same makeup that we can expect to see at the national tournament?
Our team this year, last year I felt like we had a lot of size. And I felt like a lot of times for us to have a great defensive team in, we had to say, well, this team isn't the best scoring team, but they can play defense. Or this team can score really well, but man, we can't play on the defensive end. So I'd say that's an improvement from last year. I feel like now I can put a team on that can play at both ends.
Right.
But the difference is we're a little bit smaller this year, which I didn't plan on being. It kind of is like the way the cookie crumbles, I guess, a little bit.
Sure.
So we're a little bit undersized inside, but I think we're trying to make that an advantage and use that to our advantage. It's just, I think that's where we'll look a little bit different than where we did last year. But I think our running game will look even more exciting this year because we're able to put a little bit of a smaller team on the court.
Right. With you being a point guard, is the up-tempo pace, is that something that you carry over from your playing days?
Yes. That's the way I got to play when I played. I actually run almost a mirror image of the transition I ran as a player, but it's also what I talked every head coach into running as an assistant. We won a national championship at Maryland. We ran this transition. So up-tempo, in my opinion, is where it's at. Now, we still have to play defense.
Sure.
We're not that up-tempo where we say, hey, just let them score and we're going to go get it. But I like up-tempo. I think it's fun for players to want. It's easier to motivate your team to play an up-tempo style.
Sure.
And I'm hoping it'll increase fans in the stands.
Yeah, the fans love it. Points puts people in the seats.
Right.
That's what we hear. Speaking of the seats, you've got one of the best facilities in the Mid-South Conference, the East Kentucky Expo Center you call home, and we're very thankful and blessed to have that facility in our community. What are some of the perks to your program playing at the Expo?
Well, a huge perk is when I bring a kid in to recruit them, and I bring them in there and I say, this is our home, this is where we play. Their eyes instantly light up because, like you said, it is the nicest facility in NAI, I think, in the country.
Sure.
So I love playing there, and what I love this year, I think for our home games, we're going to have some curtains up to kind of decrease the size or the magnitude of the arena to let it be more of a home court advantage and get the fans closer to the floor.
Sure.
So I think the lower bowl is about 1,200, and it would be mine, and I know Coach Wells' goal to get as many people in those seats as possible and cheer. And as a student athlete, there is probably nothing more rewarding than having them work as hard as we ask them to work, and then have people come and cheer them on, because that's basically why you do what you do at this level is you want to play for your family, you want to play for your hometown, your school town, and you want to play for the community that means so much to you.
Early in the season, but if you could, maybe highlight a couple of early season matchups that the fans can look forward to.
Well, right there on November 3rd, we play Midway, and that's our home opener. And nothing would be better than getting a Lexington-based team in here and having a good group of fans. We also play, and this is something I guess to note. Let me check the University of Cumberland's this year is one of our conference games, and we are actually playing them at the U-Pike gym. So we play them on December 3rd.
Very good.
And how cool would it be to get just that U-Pike gym packed with people for a conference game, because that was one day that we couldn't get the Expo Center, and I think that would be really fun, and that would really have a home court advantage for us.
Better believe it, and of course the fans would enjoy that as well.
Yes.
Being able to go back to the gym.
Yes.
And experience that atmosphere
and it's
again.
loud in there when you
It
get
is.
loud.
It is crazy loud, and definitely a home court advantage when you get that place rocking. So mark that on your calendar as well. You can find the schedule, the entire schedule, the roster, stay up to date with the U-Pike women's team at upikebears.com. Follow along there. And Coach, we want to wish you much success this year. We're looking forward to another great season and another national tournament appearance.
Thanks.
Let's
Me too.
get there. Coach Joanna McNamee, a great addition to the University of Pikeville athletics program, taking our U-Pike women's team to the national tournament last year. We have expectations for that to continue. The U-Pike women's basketball program is back. You've been tuned to Where the 99 Leads, a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville, the leading university of Central Appalachia. Thanks for tuning in.